this first game.
I didn't know you were such a stationary fiend.
Well, you're the one trying to steal.
I wasn't going to steal it. I was just using it.
At least I brought a pen to the broadcast. That's all I'm going to say, Kieran.
Oh, wow. Okay, that's personal, man.
Anyway, third band coming through is going to be Nautilus, followed by Nidalee as well. So all of the ends on the second row.
Yeah, so Callista is a very solid ban against Toaster. Kind of has a place in a lot of rank 5 bans as well. She's probably one of the top tier AD carries, if not maybe the top tier AD carry right now. Nautilus, just an absolute monster in the top lane, very worthy of a ban. Poppy, because Brixton does like to play a lot of Poppy support, and as well also Poppy still has a lot of utility across the map. Nidalee going out against Nocturnal Plex. We all know how fantastic he is on that champion. In fact, it's become more and more of a popular ban in solo queue, as has Gragas. You often see potentially 3 out of the 6 bans will sometimes always be aimed at the junglers. I've seen Kindred, Nidalee, Gragas banned in a game. I've seen Elise, Nidalee, Gragas all banned in a singular game as well. It kind of opens up the pool to some slightly off-meta junglers.
Yeah.
Corki, the final ban, so Special not going to get his hands on that Corki. We saw him do particularly well last week with it. Unfortunately, the Xertus lineup weren't able to group up and unable to utilize the mid-game spike that Corki managed to achieve. So not going to even be on the map this time round.
Yeah, so looking towards first picks here, do you think Elise might be something? Elise Sin? Or do you think it'll be a jungler at all?
Plex could probably first pick Lee Sin. It's a bit of a risky first pick. Again, there is some very top-tier supports that you're kind of seeing at the moment. It's going to be Lulu locked in here, which could open up a lot of different avenues for the Xertus lineup.
I want to see the Lulu support, but I would expect that to go over
mid
to
or Zergoth, yeah.
We'll have to wait and see. I mean, you do still occasionally see a top. It can be used to great effect. Obviously, it's a ranged champion, so you're going to be able to kind of bully the lane, and it's very safe wherever you put it, but typically we see it mid.
Typically, but yeah, just a shorter lane. I know Lulu does do well in the longer lanes, but shorter lanes always allow her to roam a little bit more easily. She can always walk to bot and make an impact without having to teleport, and yeah, and she doesn't really have the strongest split push in the later portions of the game. She just wave clears, so especially if you put her up against a pretty heavy split push champion, it's very difficult for her to deal with that. And actually, this is some standard looking things coming out from the CBA lineup. That's going to be Brixton on Alistair. And now, interesting little tidbit of information here for you, Munch. Brixton has recently picked up Alistair and currently has an 85% win rate or thereabouts in ranked over about 20 to 30 games. So he's had a pretty successful spree. It actually took him from Diamond 3 to Diamond 1, I believe, just by spamming Alistair. And I think in Brixton's own words, that cow is broken. He really likes this champion.
Nice. Okay, well, we'll have to see whether he can bring that to the table. I wonder if that's kind of Season 1 AP Alistair mid-practice coming through later on in his life. But Shaven Tortoise is well going to lock in that Elise, and it looks like we see instant locks out of Special and Plex. That's going to be the Kindred and Bard.
Okay, this is really interesting because Bard is a champion that most pros... In fact, I'll take a quote from Double Lift stream that I heard yesterday, and he was saying... someone had sent a donation that said, "Oh, what do you think of Bard? Is it good to climb with Bard in solo queue or whatever, or is it good to play Bard, competitively?" And he said, "Yeah, I really like Bard, but you've got to put like 10 games a day into that champion to make sure that you are just up to speed with the ability that his kit has, because it's so unique and complex. Hitting those double stuns can be quite difficult, making sure that you have the right angles on your magical journeys, and using that ultimate. That Crepo's special Bard advice, because Crepo has special Bard advice.
He has played a lot of Bard.
It's that if you ever try to ult more than 1.5 screens away from you, it's very difficult to make it land, because the travel time of the ult was just huge. So you either use it for zoning when it's 1.5 screens away, just trying to block people from going through a choke point. You're not really ever expected to hit, because it's quite slow, very easy to dodge it out. But we'll see. Maybe Simon Hidden GFX has played a lot of...
Well, he's carried me on Bard before.
Oh, okay. Well, there you go.
I've seen him play Bard a couple of times. However, not in a high level 5 versus 5 game. So we'll have to wait and see how that one pans out. We have had a couple more lock-ins though. Twisted Fate and Sivir going to be locked in for the side of CBA. So a lot of mobility coming out here from that side of the board.
Yeah, that's definitely interesting. Now, Sivir's risen in popularity since the last patch, obviously, just through the simple change that...
She's broken now.
you can crit on all of her ricochets. So every ricochet has the chance to crit.
She's terrifyingly good right now.
It just makes her scale a little bit better than she used to, and can trade slightly better, especially when she builds some of that critical strike. Because basically the W provides an auto attack reset. You get that increased auto attack speed with the ricochet, and then now it can crit. You can actually burst people pretty effectively with it. So it's a very interesting addition to her kit. And now you're kind of seeing these group and win comps come back into professional play. We're seeing it in LCS. Now we're starting to see it in obviously the higher tiers than obviously higher tier than LCS, the UK ESL Premiership. So
yeah, so we'll have to wait and see whether LCS continue to copy us later on.
I know, yeah. God damn those LCS players copying off the UK. UK scene.
Just can't innovate anymore. But anyway, we've got another couple of picks come through from the side of Exertus. They've gone with Trundle, and they've gone with Lucian. So
yeah, so Trundle's a fairly safe top laner to pick up just because he does pretty well into something like a Rammus. Rammus is off the table. Rammus is very good in a Sivir composition. Sorry, on the table, he's very good in a Sivir composition, and this could potentially have thrown a spear in the works, or a spanner in the works, to a pickup that CBA could have gone for. Right, you know, Trundle does incredibly well against these kind of tanky top laners, and traditionally, with a Sivir composition, I'm going to talk about this pick in a minute. Traditionally, in a Sivir composition, you want a tank that can make use of the Sivir ultimate and then provide a lot of CC to the team. Maokai, incredibly good. That was the classic top laner you used to see in Sivir compositions. Now that Rammus has come through, that's starting to be a little bit more seen. So the fact that they took such a long time to decide on that top lane pick maybe makes me think that they had planned for something like the Rammus, and it hasn't come through. But I'll talk about this Fiora pick now, because that has been locked in. I don't know how I feel about it much.
it's definitely not quite the thing you would expect in a Sivir composition. However, you can use that Sivir ultimate to disengage as well. It doesn't have to be to force those fights.
Yeah, I kind of feel like you're playing away from the strength of your composition though when you're not wanting to group, because, you know, in the famous words of Link, it's a Sivir composition, you just group and win XD, you know. But it's, you know, with Fiora you don't group. Now, the only benefits that Sivir offers Fiora is that means it makes it slightly easier for her to proc vitals while under the influence of On the Hunt. However, you don't traditionally want to group with a Fiora. Traditionally, you leave her in a side lane, you split push to the end of time, and you win the game in that way. So, like you said, we could be seeing this as more of a disengage, or maybe they look to make picks, because, you know, you look at their composition, they've got picks for days. I mean, they pop the Sivir ultimate, Alistair combo, gold card, Elise Cocoon. If they're catching someone out of position there, that looks pretty interesting to me.
And Sivir is incredibly good at bursting down a single target. The Boomerang Blade obviously doesn't get reduced damage if it's only hitting one target, so you can really
for sure.
people out very fast. I mean, Sivir Taric used to be a lane for a reason. He just puts them still, and then Sivir bursts them down with that boomerang.
Yeah, I mean, Sivir is not classically known for her burst potential, but in that situation, for sure, she has surprising burst, I would say. The issue with Sivir is that she doesn't really trade in lane, unless you have something like a Taric, which makes the trade easy for you, because she doesn't really have the tools to do so. Boomerang Blade kind of easy to dodge if you have the abilities, and going up against a Lucian, unless she can spell shield that piercing light, she's never really going to trade effectively here. But she does do well into Bard, you know. I think that the Sivir pickup should mean that she'll be fairly safe against this Bard.
Okay, well, let's take a look at the composition that we've got built up here for Exertus. We talked a little bit about the kind of Sivir composition with a Fiora taped on there from CBA. What kind of composition are you seeing here from Exertus?
So this is kind of like a, I guess, protect the Lucian Kindred kind of thing. When you throw a Lulu in there, you're never really going to be using her for her flat damage. She's really there for utility.
Yeah.
I guess it's kite back. You know, you kind of poke with Lulu and the Trundle Pillar, then you kite back with Trundle Pillar, you kite back with Glitter Lance. Kindred jumps back. You know, Lucian high mobility, just kite back and pick people off where you can. Double TP, maybe going for a 1-3-1 at one point. You know, try and put pressure on the fact that you probably can easily put Lulu up against Twisted Fate, and that would not be such a poor matchup for Lulu to play into in a side lane. And then you've continuously got the Fiora versus Trundle, which I think is a bit of a skill matchup. It really depends on how that's played effectively. Trundle's never going to get use out of his ultimate, particularly in lane, up against the Fiora. So The interesting thing is he's probably not going to get much use out of his ultimate regardless in this game because there's no real tanks. Alistair's kind of a tank, but
yeah, it's down to if he can use it when Alistair ults. That's kind of the...
Yeah, does Alistair get the increased resistances when he ults? Because I thought it's just plain damage reduction that he gets.
I thought it was increased resistance.
I'll have a look because I know that he gets a flat percentage damage reduction. But if he gets increased resistances, certainly. I can't quite remember. I haven't read the tooltip in ages, but he won't be able to have any effect on the damage reduction, essentially, because no matter what he's...
if it's increased resistance...
Yeah. But yeah, I honestly... Trying to figure out where they're looking to go with this composition. With double teleport, it's always screaming out 1-3-1 in some way. You always have the Kindred to help stop a pick from the Sivir composition, so kind of play against that. You can then try and look to disengage in that mid lane as well, so...
Yeah, well, we'll have to see how they choose to play this one out as we are into the loading screen and we're getting ready to get this first game of the night underway. In case you've missed the champion select, it is CBA EXE infused, no longer infused now, just Cliff as a boosted animal instead. And they're going to be going up against Exertus Esports. We've had a couple of little roster shuffles.
Well, they've done well here. They've got the club CBA. They must have been on that pretty quickly.
Nice, nice. That is fair play. And we've got a couple of 4 players from Exertus, and then Zergoth is rocking the 420. So I'm sure he'll be very happy with that one. I'm in Moose currently.
I think I'm in Daddy.
Oh God, I saw that one. I decided not to ask for an invite on that one.
Why? It's the best club on League of Legends.
I'm also in Donny Soldiers.
Donny Soldiers.
With the tag Devo, which is just inspirational.
Inspirational, obviously.
Yeah. But here we go, ladies and gentlemen. We are on to Summoner's Rift and ready to get this first game of the night underway. As we were physically in Summoner's Rift.
Physically in the Rift. It would be like one of those crazy sports games that you just have the commentators just chilling in the side or somewhere. But no, we were right in the middle of the Rift. I think that could get annoying though, so we've just got that fixed. As much as you might like to see our faces throughout the entirety of the game.
I've got to say, I'm glad that's not a permanent fixture for this one. But here we go. We're underway with our first match of Week 5 here. Exertus up against CBA now. Exertus are right now looking to secure themselves a spot in the playoffs, whereas CBA... 0-4 so far. They've only played one of their games so far in the season. They're looking to just basically play for not only pride, but also for prize money. You get prize money for each win within the Premiership.
Yeah, for sure you do. And they'll definitely be looking to make a little bit of cash dollar on this, from this game. And I think given that they've got hidden reasoning, or hidden... So I keep saying hidden reason. Given that they've got hidden GFX in, I'm wondering how much of an impact that's going to have, because yes, we know he's a decent player. We know Simon can perform, but he won't. Oh, okay. This is the strategy that I was talking about. What happens here is you teleport. So you remember the minion blocking we used to see right at the start of the ESL Premiership. Yeah. You teleport to a melee minion, and it literally gets held behind the entire minion wave. So when your minion wave gets to lane, it has 2 melee minions and 3 ranged minions, and then it pushes towards you when you do the gromp.
Okay.
So this is the cheese strategy I was talking about that Brixton had decided to concoct.
Okay, well...
And it's technically making use of game mechanics.
Yeah, I mean, fair play. It's certainly something that obviously is a solid mechanic. Special going to get stunned up by that gold card. Let's take a look at the top lane and...
If you just look
looks like it's not really pushing so far. It's kind of even.
But if you look at the bot lane, you should see that the wave is thoroughly pushing towards. You see here that it's pushing quite heavily.
Oh, they
towards.
did it in the bot lane, did they? I was
yeah.
It
was in the bot lane, and you can see that the wave is slowly pushing towards. They didn't actually manage to get the zone out of it though, so I do feel like it's maybe slightly wasted. I mean, it really depends on how they play the next few minutes. If they can freeze it now, given that it's pushing quite heavily towards them, then get the freeze afterwards, they could be in a really good position.
Yeah, they absolutely could. Take a look at the damage going on in the mid lane. Pretty aggressive trading from both parties right there. Special taking a little bit of an advantage off the back of that, and both of them going to be chugging down those health pots, or cookies, I suppose. We'll see. I mean, is this a lane that you would expect Lulu to be winning?
Yeah, it's difficult for Twisted Fate. Now, what he did is he stepped up to the wave quite readily.
Special is in trouble. The flash does come out, but there's going to be a lot of damage. A nice cocoon lands, and there's the Venomous Blight. First blood goes across to Shaven Tortoise.
Preemptive flash for me there. I don't think that was a particularly well-timed flash. You should have been looking to flash the cocoon as opposed to flashing the stun card. Maybe tried to stay within the minions when the stun card came down, just to make it very hard for Shaven Tortoise to hit that cocoon. And actually now the wave is going to start pushing back towards the bot side of EXE. So this potentially has not worked out as well as they would have liked. They didn't manage to get the perfect freeze off. But yeah, I mean, that was a very, very well-timed gank. Actually, I speak again. It's actually now moving back towards Infused.
Yeah, the thing is for CBA right now is they don't really want it to push too hard. They don't want that to go underneath their tower because that will obviously then reset it.
I mean, they're not getting the zone anyway. Lucian's still able to freely get onto that farm regardless. It's just putting them into a good position for potential ganks in the future. Yeah. I was going to say, it's a very difficult lane for Twisted Fate without the gank pressure because, you know, every time he steps up to the minion wave, he wants to push with those red cards at that first level. Lulu can just return with a very easy shield and then Glitter Lance, and it's a pretty free trade for her. Twisted Fate always has to step a little bit closer than the Glitter Lance range. And actually, Leandrid, he's going a little bit aggressive, but Nocturnal Plex is on the side here.
Yeah, Plex wants to get in on this action. Oh, Pillar is going to get dodged away from with that nice little jump. That is going to mean Leandrid is just about fine. They can't really go for a straight-up dive unless they're already going to guarantee themselves that kill. So he's going to be able to get away with that one. And so far, very... or fairly passive early game. Nice little binding comes out from Simon there. Or GFX, sorry.
And you know him too well when you start calling them by their first name.
Yeah, this is one of the problems when you're already mates before they become a player. But here we go, Plex going to go for the regank up in that top lane. Leandrid does have flash though, so I can't say I'm expecting them to be able to get too much on this one. The parry is going to go out. Zergoth actually incredibly low, and Leandrid doing a decent job of trading, but doesn't even have to use that summoner.
No, he didn't, because his riposte, it managed to riposte both Mounting Dread and the Rabid Bite from Trundle. So he riposted a huge amount of damage in CC there and gets away with not having to burn a flash at all. And that's a lot of pressure kind of lost by Plex now because he didn't get anything for it. They're going to push the wave hard though and maybe look for the dive. No, Plex is going to back off here.
Yeah, Plex is not feeling too bad though. He does have that 5 CS advantage over the enemy jungler, obviously though. Shaven Tortoise was able to get that first blood, so he's going to be feeling pretty happy with himself as well. We'll see how this one continues to pan out. 10 CS lead has started to build up for the side of CBA here in the mid lane. And down in the bottom lane as well, 5 CS, but Gakis is looking to close that one as he pushes this towards tower as fast as he can.
He is indeed. They're going to try and at least force some minion loss for Cliff and Brixton, but they should make their way back to lane fairly readily. They may only lose 1 or 2 minions here, so it won't be too bad for them. I'm looking to see where Twisted Fate's going to start to make an impact across the map, because he has got those standard lanes, so the laning phase is going to be ever so slightly extended here.
Yeah, well, we're going for another trade here. Thunderlords will be procced, but again, very, very even stuff going on. Special is level 6 as well, so Wild Growth going to be available. But as you say, I want to see what kind of ultimates we see out of Twisted Fate, where he decides to go for those ganks. Red card actually going to be locked in there. Does manage to hit the wild cards though, and again, very, very even trading, but he's completely out of mana, and Special is going to be able to comfortably stay in lane with that ultimate available.
Twisted Fate's going to stay around though. Oh, Plex is coming through to Shaven Tortoise.
He certainly is. He's got that challenging smite down. He's got the Mounting Dread, and he's going to be able to get that % damage. Shaven Tortoise just bullied away out of his own jungle.
Yeah, Plex has been doing a good job of that so far. Fortunately, his early mark is on the enemy side jungle. It's not going to be one of those river scuttlers, so he won't get that free and easy mark, and Shaven Tortoise already going to take that one off the map, so that's another mark lost here for Plex. He's a little bit unlucky with the placements of those, but was looking to put a bit of pressure onto Shaven Tortoise, who's been looking to make a lot of impact across the map, has only really had that early gank in the mid lane to show for his troubles though so far.
Yeah, they've not really. I mean, this is an incredibly low kill game so far, but looking at the compositions, that's kind of what you would expect in this matchup. It's kind of obviously these champions aren't really like lane bullies. We've not really got high kill lanes coming out anyway. So when do you expect these teams to really start to try and accelerate things? Or do you not ever?
I mean, the Civic composition, if they're going to play it like a traditional Civic composition, which is something that we're probably not expecting, that they're probably going to be looking to accelerate towards 20 minutes. You know, they're going to want to use the Sivir ultimate to try and catch people off guard, try and group and win, as they say, but without potentially go for a 4 group, without the Fiora, and just look for picks as Zergoth.
Zergoth has been found up in that top lane, or I suppose it's more Shaven Tortoise that was found there. It's going to mean that he can't get anything onto this Trundle. And the farm fest continues up in that top lane. We did see as well Special managing to force his lane opponent out there. Does manage to get a wave underneath that tower, but still actually slightly down on CS.
Yeah, not too bad though. Actually, CS is remarkably even across the board, apart from a sort of 10-9 CS advantage in that jungle for Plex. I mean, it's been a fairly even game despite the early kill, I suppose, and that's a good spell shield by Cliff. He's going to get a bit of mana back for there. Tense, I would say, is the way I describe it. Doesn't look like anyone wants to go particularly aggressive. Leandra definitely having a slightly difficult time in that top lane. Twisted Fate, though.
Go. Zergoth in trouble. The gold card is going to land. Grand Challenge, I would expect to come out any second now. The Vitals are going to be procced, but Wild Growth is going to keep Zergoth alive. Leandra incredibly low. He's looking to try and pick up Zergoth for that healing, and he's going to be able to find it. Look at this now. Special all on his own, trying to flash away, but I don't know if he's going to be able to get away from this one. The gold card is there, flashes forward, and that's the second kill for Leandrid.
Yeah, he flashed for that because he didn't want to see the Whimsy come out and then a potential getaway. Cliff, nice spell shield onto the Bard shield there, and he will get away. So this is, I'm going to say, CBA, they are turning things on. This is a very positive performance, and Exertus, who we initially thought was potentially our second to third seeds in this whole entire tournament, are starting to struggle against the technically last place team in the league.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, they are tied for last place. You're absolutely right. And Exertus currently 2-2. They're going to be looking to try and extend that to a 3-2 scoreline. You definitely don't want to be kind of on the negative side of things,
especially for your playoff
stage.
Chances as well.
Exactly. This is it. We're at week 5 right now. We're past halfway. You can't afford to lose.
There's 2 more weeks left. You know, if you lose here, that's really difficult for you to make it back in.
Yeah, it really is, and
especially given how well M&M and TCA have been performing, you know?
Yeah, this is it, and we'll see how they're going to perform later on today. But one thing that we do have to bear in mind is Exertus have already played up against Manalite and the Renegades. So, you know, M&M and TCA definitely still have their work cut out.
Oh yeah, but if you're M&M and TCA and you're looking at this game, you're thinking, actually, we probably have more of a chance than most people would have given us coming into this.
Here we go. Leandrid looking for another kill onto Zergoth. Going to prop that Grand Challenge, but he's underneath the tower. That's going to be Lamb's Respite to keep Zergoth alive, and that will be one dead Swordmaster. Yeah, she went a little bit aggressive. She was obviously winning trades after that initial gank from the Twisted Fate. And a nice, timely interrupt, I would say, by Nocturnal Plex comes up there with the Lamb's Respite. And obviously provides that small heal after that. Lamb's Respite goes down for your allies, and that all basically made all the difference there, allowed him to keep himself alive, as well as the fact that his Vital procced on the other, well, his Vital reappeared on the other side of Fiora, so she had to go basically make a 1 second maneuver when she was already on very low health, so she was never going to get there in time to proc that Vital and look for the kill. No, she wasn't, so good job there to make sure they secure that one, and then it's going to be a 10 CS lead as well in favour of Trundle up in that top lane. So Zergoth doing a very good job so far, and we're actually starting to see a little bit of CS lead develop in this bottom lane in favour of Cliff. But Gakis, one of the AD carries, used to be Toaster 1-2-3, certainly renowned within the UK as being one of the best.
I think the last ESL Premiership Finals, most people considered him the best AD carry in the UK.
Yeah.
He is incredibly talented on that champion, a high challenger player. It looks like Dragon has been started here. Is this going to be a 4-on-4 fight between these guys? Nope. Nocturnal Plex is just going to jump away as that Special. Yeah,
Special has been caught by that gold card. Flash kick doesn't land from Tortoise. That is uncomfortable, but Cliff is down to about 10 HP there. Hidden GFX way far out though, and Gakis going to be able to dash away. Brixton looking to just try and get some CC down. I don't think there's anywhere for Simon to go. Cliff narrowly survives that Bard attack.
That was very risky by Cliff right there. I think he had the spell shield available, so knew he could block the Q. But if he'd missed that, timed that in the slightest, that would have been giving a needless kill away over to Exertus after CBA. Turned things around quite nicely. It looks like Special is now the target. They are going to back off. They won't be able to rotate quickly enough to get past that Whimsy and the slow of the Glitterlands.
Yeah, and that's one of the beautiful things about Lulu is it's so easy. It's so safe in that mid lane. You can pretty much never be ganked unless you really get yourself out of position. But we'll have to see whether they're going to be able to ever... I mean, I say that. Currently special is 0, 2, and 0, so obviously he's not invincible.
He's going towards that Rod of Ages as well. I like the fact he went for the flat AP first, because that's what makes Lulu so viable. You know, you need to build high flat AP values. But Twisted Fate has already finished his Rod of Ages. He's already starting to stack it. It's a pretty big difference in that mid lane right now, and Special has definitely been struggling.
Yeah, he really has, and I mean, that's going to be it. The kills are really going to be the thing that makes the difference. And so far, we can see CBA with 4 kills across the board, but that gold is spread out evenly across their team as well. Leandrid has been caught up in the top lane. Mountain Dread stacking on up. The percent damage not quite going to be there, though. Shaven Tortoise now going to be the target as Zergoth tanks this tower. But they can't quite finish anybody off. And now there's a fight in the bottom lane. Gaki is trying to get onto Cliff, who's taken a considerable amount of damage right here. Brixton now slowed. Is going to have to use that ultimate just to keep himself alive here. Turret goes down up in that top lane as they continue onto Brixton. His ultimate's run out, and actually he's going to get stunned up and taken down. Gakis grabbing that one. What
a brilliant stun there from Hidden Reason. He was probably going to go down regardless. Essentially what you saw there in that fight, Brixton went all in on the Hidden Reason, or Hidden GFX rather, with his combo. Just allowed Toaster to step right up to Cliff and do the damage needed. Cliff was forced backwards, he missed the Boomerang Blade. It was just a poor trade all round, and Brixton unfortunately caught with his pants down right at the end after that ultimate fell off.
Had his flash as well.
Had his flash, yeah. Definitely could have potentially dodged that stun, so I guess potentially wanting to save it. Maybe he thought he was dead regardless, but I think from a spectator point of view, maybe we thought he was more likely to get away there. Just
teleport coming on through here. Leandrid decides to cancel it in the end, but actually Zergoth doesn't cancel his. Shaven Tortoise is going to be the target here. Culling channeled on through as the repel does manage to dodge most of that damage. Gakis can't quite get enough autos to finish that tower, but there we go. Zergoth is going to finish it himself. Leandrid currently pushing up in that top lane, should be able to at least get some damage down onto that top tier 1, but here we go. Hidden GFX looking to push more aggressively. Takes a huge amount of damage from that Boomerang Blade, and the blue buff will be given over to Plex.
Nice pathing by Shaven Tortoise there. He didn't go the obvious route of running towards his tower. Actually in this mid lane now, nice Glitterlance dodge. This could be...
Yeah, we do see the flash gold card coming on out. The damage is going to be there. One more auto should finish it, but he can't quite get in range. So unfortunately, not quite going to be a kill, but certainly a change in dynamic for that mid lane.
I think he was hoping for that stacked deck to come through and get the final empowered auto attack that you get from that ability, but unfortunately, 'twas not the case. So yeah, an interesting exchange of events there. I wanted to note a little bit earlier, Shaven Tortoise's Flash Cocoon literally saved Leandrid's life and managed to keep them both healthy, but they did lose the tower for it. A nice rotation by Zergoth on that Trundle, but honestly, it was a pretty even trade, obviously, across the board here. It's just a 1 tower advantage right now for Exertus, yet they're still ever so slightly behind in gold, and I believe CBA should be able to catch up to that pretty shortly, having picked up the Rift Herald also.
Yeah, absolutely. Leandrid might have been caught out here. Zergoth looking to start this fight, but Leandrid pretty much out of mana here. This is definitely not one he wants to continue with, and Shaman Tortoise is going to be able to help on out. The gold card is going to be available and lands onto Plex. A lot of damage landing, but here comes the rest of the teams, so we're turning this into a full-on team fight. Everybody here from Exertus, but can they find anyone right now? Can they actually turn this into a kill? Brixton's been found, does have his ultimate. Now, Unbreakable will make him tanky, but don't know if it's tanky enough. Culling should be able to finish that one off. Plex gets the kill in the end. I believe that was Red Buff ticked it out in the end. And this is going to be a tier 1 tower in the mid lane.
Yeah, this is just the grouping working far more effectively. They've got a pretty decent siege composition with that Trundle as well. And they've just got a good amount of vision in the enemy side jungle. They're just looking to make picks. They're going to go, oh, nice ultimate for a Hidden Reason.
Yeah, he's going to be able to get that stun with his Q as well. Annihilate someone with a light sling. A Shaven Tortoise flashing over the wall just to survive that one. But that guarantees the tier 2 tower in that middle lane.
Yeah.
And just objectives on objectives coming out right now for Exertus. It's a 2,000 gold lead, and they've evened up the kills.
They've got a Civic composition, and they're not grouping because they've got a Fiora. And they're getting out-grouped by a non-Civic composition who are just, you know, making picks, which is what a Civic composition should do, and then taking turrets, which is what a Civic composition should do. So they're getting out-Civic by a non-Civic composition.
Yeah, I mean, to some extent, all compositions should take turrets. So in their defense,
I think that's fairly obvious. That's not the point. That's not the point I was trying to make. But the point I'm trying to make is that they're making picks and grouping, and then You know, because some competitions can take competitions can take turrets by split pushing or whatever. But but no, I know you were just teasing me.
But yeah, you're absolutely right. The Civ competition really not paying dividends just yet for CBA, but maybe this is part of their secret plan and it's all going to kick off later on in the game. But Cliff, unfortunately, the Grump resetting on him didn't actually fully reset though. I'm not sure. I don't think I've ever seen that where it doesn't quite fully reset before.
Well, there you go. See something new every day.
You do, indeed. Here we go, Special just pushing up in this mid lane. But honestly, it really feels like, especially with how long it took them to pick their top laner during the Champion Select, that EXE, or CBA, sorry, maybe being a little bit outdrafted in this match.
Well, they're trying to go on to Plex here, but they've just seen that there is backup.
Oh,
actually, no, here we go.
Special. He is going to take a bit of damage. Wild Growth going to be there as well as help picks, so going to be able to survive that one pretty comfortably.
Yeah, I just feel like they're kind of struggling to know what to do. Brixton's pathing has been slightly off as well. The reason he got caught in that top side, red side jungle was because he kind of ran towards his team where he could have just ran towards the turret. If he'd ran towards the turret originally, he wouldn't have been caught out by all that CC. So, going to be another dragon going over to Exertus, and honestly, Hidden GFX is going to be pretty happy with this. The manager steps in and has had a pretty decent impact, you know. Picked up that kill in the mid lane, secured that second tier turret. All in all, very, very good performance by him so far. I've been impressed.
Yeah, this is the second UK Premiership manager we've seen stepping into a Premiership game as well. Alakis was playing during the promotions, but Hidden GFX, he's standing in that Lamb's Rest, going to survive for a little bit and actually gets away on a magical journey. Now Zergoth flashing over the wall. Nice stud onto Leandrid and Shaven Tortoise. Cullen going to finish off Brixton, but it's 1-for-1 so far as Leandrid looks for more. Can't quite find his targets though. Zergoth on this back line along with Special trying to get on into this fight. They're going to be able to get on to Shaven Tortoise, who's incredibly low but survives with a heal. Leandrid incredibly low as well. Gakis looking to secure these kills now as the gold card is locked in, but I don't know if he's going to be able to find his target. Cliff now flashes forward with the boomerang blade. Going ham for this one, but I don't think he's going to be able to find his target. Unfortunately, it's Brixton that is ham in this matchup, and now it's just going to be Twisted Fate trying to escape with his life.
I feel like Cliff's team playing true to their name right now with that flash. I think he just caught between a rock and a hard place, knew that he probably wasn't going to get away, tried to go for the flash kill there.
Yeah, it was just like CBA, man. Just going for this one.
Yeah, this is unfortunate for CBA right now because that Lamb's Respite was so perfectly placed for Nocturnal Plex, and that magical journey, it lasts for a very long time, and Hidden Reason was... Oh, Hidden... I always say the Hidden Reason because he was the manager of Reason Gaming. Hidden GFX was able to just stroll on out of there and got a great stun afterwards as well. He managed to stun up 2 of the chasing members. And then from the sidelines, you just had Zergoth and Special. They were just there, consistently applying threat and pressure from the sidelines. Brixton had completely overextended into the back of the enemy team and no one there to follow him up. So CBA definitely struggling to know what to do because, you know, you see the group and now they're starting to lose these group team fights because they've got a Fiora at the end of the day. You know, she doesn't really do that much in a team fight because she's so easily focused down. So yeah, I think this is a tough one for CBA. Where do they go from here? You know, you have a Civic competition, you are in the mid game, but you can't group.
Well, that's the thing. You keep saying they have a Civic composition. They have a Civic in their composition.
Yeah, but when you
really
pick,
don't feel like they have a Civic composition.
But yeah, but when you pick Civic, you have a Civic composition because that's what you pick Civic for. There are just better AD carries than Civic when it comes in.
Well, here we go. Colin channeled straight on through. That's just going to be half of a health bar taken.
Yeah, there are just better AD carries on the map for being an auto-attack based carry.
Lucian as example.
Yeah, exactly. You know...
Yeah, I mean, like, Ezreal was open, Kalista was banned.
Even Caitlyn, you know, at the end of the day, has her place. And if you're trying to play an auto-attack-based champion, Caitlyn is just better than Sivir in a lot of ways.
I think the thing is, they wanted to run more of a Sivir composition with the tank top laner, but it was that Trundle pick really kind of, as you said before...
It's an anti-tank, yeah. It's an anti-tank pick, isn't it, you know?
Here we go. We've got a teleport down towards this bottom lane Special. Looking for the 1 versus 1 here up against Twisted Fate. Does manage to get that slow. He's going to get chunked out there. I don't think he can... Oh, he's going to keep on chasing for this one, in fact. And we do see Gakis is on his way as well. But Special not really winning out this fight. But there's the Glitter Lance. That did far more damage than I expected. And we'll pick him up a kill.
This is what I was talking about. Because look at the build that Special's going now. And they're going to start to move into this 1-3-1. He's going for the Lichbane. He's going to look to take down turrets very, very quickly. And he can 1v1 the Twisted Fate at this point in time. Well, I mean, Twisted Fate was a little bit low there. It may have been closer had it been both full health.
Yep.
And now you're starting to see this 1-3-1 that we were talking about from the Exertus lineup, and especially with the addition of that Lichbane. That's a build on Lulu that we haven't seen for about a year.
No.
It's been a long time.
We saw it at last World Finals.
Yes.
Forbidden played it a lot, like almost assassin Lulu, and to some great effect, but typically when you're playing that Lulu, it's not for that role, but we are going to see that role come out here. Plex is going to be the target of this fight, but a nice ultimate comes out, and that is going to deny the fight. But there we go, gold card lands onto Hidden GFX, who gets a chunk of damage onto him, and a kill comes out for Leandrid, who's looking to turn that into more. Gakis found himself in a 2 versus 1 right now, but actually might be able to get a kill onto Twisted Fate if he can just land an auto,
no,
and
I
he
saw that
does. Brixton looking to try and finish him off, does have that bonus AD, and I'm just going to watch this 1v1 right now. Brixton flashes for the kill in the end.
Oh, you could just see it as they were chasing the Lucian, that Brixton was lining up, and I think also the positioning of TF was to slightly blame.
Yeah. Yeah, it was kind of like you knew that he had the damage. It was just Gakis waiting for his cooldown to come off so that he could just turn around and get that one. But here we go, Zergoth is not finished just yet. He's going for Brixton, actually flashes for that one. Pillar of Filth is going to come up any second now, and it does, but he doesn't even need it.
Yes, you saw 2 occasions there. Shaman Tortoise looked for the cocoon and then just slightly out of range, especially due to that headbutt that Brixton just threw down onto Zergoth. Yeah, you saw there also that TF got unfortunately sniped, but because Brixton and himself had lined up in a perfect way for Piercing Light to happen, but they couldn't really position it in any other way to make it work. So, and Stack actually picked up here for Nocturnal Plex as well. 6
stacks at 25 minutes currently, so
not awful.
No, he's I'd say that's not far off average really, maybe ever so slightly below, but he's going to be feeling pretty happy with that one, really. And he's 3-0-4, so I don't think he's too upset about anything. Does have that Sated Devourer as well as Rapid Fire Cannon and the Maw of Malmortius, so he's starting to get pretty terrifying, it's safe to say. And I mean, just look at the scoreboard right now from the side of Exertus. So many players with a lot of kills under their belt, and they're about 6,000 gold ahead of their opponents right now. Oh,
and Toaster.
Gakis, yeah. Just 1v1, I missed that completely, unfortunately, but that is going to be AD carry versus AD carry. Leandrid did teleport down to try and save his teammate there. He's going to be able to jump over that wall, but I fear that he's not going to be able to run forever here. Look at the damage coming out from Plex right now.
What a stun!
Tempered Fate onto 3 people. The stun will follow up, but Special actually may have gone too deep for this one. Grand Challenge cast onto him, but actually he's more than tanky enough and will be able to survive that one. Brixton now all on his own and will get taken down. Another kill goes over to Plex, and it is a 2-for-0.
Yeah, and also a free inhibitor as well in that bot lane, so they're going to now look to rotate and take that one very easily. And that's just Lucian, you see. You know, he's able to duel far more effectively. This is why Sivir can't trade. Sivir just doesn't do well in trades as Gakis moves up towards that inhibitor. They're going to take it very quickly. Sorry if I call Gakis Toaster, by the way. I've just been so used to calling him Toaster for such a long period of time.
Yeah, for anyone that's not aware, Gakis is Toaster, 1-2-3 long time UK player. Zergoth pushing out that mid lane as well. They decide not to go too aggressive for that though. And now, with this bottom lane inhibitor down, Baron is certainly on the cards for Exertus.
And also, you know, it's getting to a pretty scary stage because I mean, Fiora's got 2 items, 2.5 items, but I don't think she's even strong enough to duel Zergoth right now, who's 3-1-5, picked up that Iceborne Gauntlet as well, so going to start to slow the Fiora down. So she's not going to be able to split push effectively. Twisted Fate probably can't duel Special anymore in the side lanes, so they're going to lose in the split push, which is kind of like half of their strategy with the Fiora, I suppose, and they're losing the team fights. So where do they go from here? All of it looks pretty grim for CBA, unfortunately.
Yeah, it's not looking fantastic right now. They're just looking to try and clear out their jungle while they can before Exertus head back over to their half of the map. I say their half of the map. It feels like it's Exertus' half of the map. In fact, all 4 quarters feel like they're Exertus' right now, but Baron looks like it might just be the shout here for Exertus as they all start to group up around this area, and at very least they're going to start to try and get some vision control going on.
And look at Fiora, she's having such a tough time pushing in that top lane because, sorry, that bot lane, because obviously there is the super minions that she's got to deal with, and they're going to clear out those minions very quickly. Zergoth, not your target that you want to jump in onto, Shaven Tortoise.
Yeah, he's been stunned up, but I don't think it matters. Look at the health bar for Shaven Tortoise, just going to get squished like the bug that he is.
You've got Runic Echoes and you've got Locket of the Iron Solari. In what universe did you think you were going to burst a Trundle with a Titanic Hydra, a Spirit Visage, and an Iceborne Gauntlet? I mean, that's just not going to happen. Goes down instantly. Fiora's already had to teleport away, and you can see all of her work completely undone in that bot lane. CBA now 10k gold behind, and let's be honest, it's looking poor for them. Yeah,
well, Leandrid's going to get caught by the Q from Bard, but nothing of note there. But look at the scoreboard right now. 16-7. 10,000 gold lead for Exertus. And now, with that Baron buff, they can start to siege on towards this top lane. The super minions are pushing away down in that bottom lane as well. We can see Twisted Fate desperately trying to clear them, but I don't think he's going to be able to at this rate. And now they start to head towards this top lane.
If you were to look back on Champ Select that we had here, would you have thought just pick a tank anyway?
Yeah.
Just try and either survive the lane or look for a lane swap, you know?
Yeah, it certainly feels like that would have been a better scenario, but hindsight is 2020. There we go, another Tempered Fate onto 3 people. Stun will follow. Leandrid going to be the target and will just get burst down. Actually manages to parry a lot of damage and will be able to escape this one. Nobody dropping just yet, but Plex flashing forward just to prove me wrong and pick up some kills. Brixton now in that Lamb's Respite, but will not survive any longer. Double kill for Plex, who is 6-0-6. That's the top lane inhibitor. There are already super minions pushing in this bottom lane. Gak is happy to tank up that Nexus tower a little bit there, and here come the Baroned up super minions. First tower is all but down. They're looking towards the second Nexus tower. They're looking towards the game right now as they are just chunking out every single member from CBA. This looks like it is going to be the game going over to Exertus. CBA now 0-5 in the Premiership.
Well, it looked good for CBA in the early starts of the game. They made some good map rotations.